Hey Fostertopia. So last week, the 3 members of my group, including myself, decided to ask our family members one simple question: what does it mean to be an American? Upon asking, we received many various answers ranging from being free to voting to having rights, and one family member who would not be named even said being fat and lazy. Now, with none of these being the answers we wanted, we decided to take to Webster's dictionary for the true meaning. Webster's defined an American as a person born, raised, or living in the U.S. Now, while this, along with all the previous answers given, were true, minus being fat and lazy, of course, these were still not the answers we were looking for. So today, we are going to answer the question of what does it truly mean to be an American? Being an American goes much further than just having certain liberties or participating in government. Being an American means having pride in your country. It means being pissed off at terrorists. It means standing up for your country. It means fighting your butt off if you're in the military, and if not, supporting the military in every way possible. America is the best country on earth. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave, so we should treat it as such. And that is what it means to be an American. The thing about America, however, it didn't get this way overnight. It was a long process of history that shaped it to be this way. We are now going to look at that process. Here are just 3 individuals responsible for making America the awesome country it is today. The first person we are going to look at is Martin Luther King Jr. Now, pretty much all of you know who he is and know what he did, but let's just take a step back and look at the true impact he had on the U.S. Without him, there might still be slavery today, and some of your classmates sitting around you, you may have never even met them. I know, crazy. Secondly, we are going to look at Susan B. Anthony. Now, probably a lot of you ladies out there are fans of her, maybe some guys too, but this lady was the most influential person on women's rights. She is the reason for the equality between men and women today. Lastly, we are going to look at Roy Benavidez. Now, a lot of you probably remember Roy. He's known for his mission known as 6 Hours in Hell. In this mission, he managed to survive a helicopter crash and 37 separate bullet, bayonet, and shrapnel wounds, and managed to save 8 men in the process. The doctors thought he was dead, but he managed to spit in the doctor's face as he was zipping up the bag to his body. I know. Bad. And if that doesn't say American, I don't know what does. Now, the next category we are going to look at is 3 historical events in which Americans overcame an obstacle and made the country better. Let's get into it. The first historical event we are going to look at is the ratification of the 13th Amendment. Now, what this amendment did is it banned slavery. Now, we all know that slavery was one of the biggest obstacles in America's history, and this is the piece of legislation that ended it, improving America for the better. And going along with the segregation involved in this, the second historical event we have for you is Brown versus Board of Education. In this important court case, it was ruled that segregating schools was unconstitutional, and from this point forward, schools were no longer segregated. This was a huge improvement for America. Last but not least, we are going to look at 9/11. Now, 9/11 is probably America's biggest obstacle so far. It caused much heartbreak and caused many citizens to question the nation's national security. The effect of this tragedy, however, ended up being somewhat positive. The nation was able to come together and overcome such an event. It ended with much nationalism and a safer country in all. This is probably our greatest victory in terms of overcoming obstacles today. Now, in the wise words of Hannah Montana, everybody makes mistakes. Now, I know this is hard to believe, but even America does. Right now, we are going to look at 3 lessons that Americans learned from mistakes we've made in the past. Here we go. Our first lesson for the class today is again segregation. Now, segregation is a big part of our past, and not one we are particularly proud of. What we are proud of, however, is the fact that we learned from this mistake and made improvements to ensure it would never happen again. Now, time for lesson number 2. So during World War II, there was much tension between America and Japan. Due to this, the American government chose to send Japanese citizens in America to internment camps. These camps were similar to the imprisoning and enslaving done by Hitler to the Jews. This is surely a mistake America will never make again. Now for our third and final lesson. So I'm sure throughout your guys' childhood, you were always told never to lie. Well, apparently Nixon never had a childhood, because in the 1970s, when it was uncovered that Nixon was involved in some illegal activities and began to be investigated in something known as the Watergate scandal, he lied about it. Because of Nixon's actions, he was forced to resign. This taught America that just because someone's a president does not necessarily mean they can be trusted. Good job, Nixon. On to our second to last category. Right now we have 3 unique cultural achievements in US history that helped shape the country. Number 1, we have rock and roll in the 50s. Rock and roll's introduction had a big impact on America. It was at first seen as rebellious, but today is known as one of the leading genres of music that I'm sure most of us enjoy. Number 2, we have the uprising Christianity. So in the 50s, there was a huge growth in Christian followers. It became the common religion in every household. During this time, "In God We Trust" was added to America's forms of currency, which is still seen on our money today. Number 3, we have style changes for women. So throughout history, as women gained rights, their style changed with it. A big example of this is seen in the 1920s. During this time, women began to wear short hair and skirts. These styles are still popular in American culture today. Now for our third and final category, we have 3 unique technological achievements in US history. Coming in at number 3 on the list, we have the atomic bomb. Invented by Albert Einstein, the atomic bomb is hardly ever seen as a positive achievement. This bomb, however, is the sole reason for our defeating the Japanese in World War II. Coming in at number 2, we have the assembly line. Thought of and put into effect by Henry Ford, the assembly line gave us a method of mass-producing products and a much more effective way to get our goods out there. 99% of manufacturers still use this method today. In fact, nearly every item around you was produced by an assembly line. And topping off the list at number 1, and our final item we have for you in the video today, is the automobile. Also invented by Henry Ford, the automobile has evolved over time into the amazing cars you rely on in your everyday lives today. This gives us a much more effective means of transporting people, goods, and information. What would our world be without it? So that concludes our video. Thank you for watching, and on behalf of all of us in our group,
don't just have a great night, have an American night.